إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا، من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأن محمدا عبده ورسوله. A brother asked me a question, an important question, that I wish to share the answer with you, brothers and sisters, because I see it's as brief as it is. It would sum up a lot of studying that you might be compelled to do with Ibn Taymiyyah's work, rahimahullah ta'ala. It's beneficial in this respect, and that's why, particularly why I want to share it with you. The brother said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My question is, after a bit of back and forth, atheists will say, if Allah can be eternal and uncreated, why can't we apply that to the universe? So if the final argument from our side that Allah is eternal and uncreated and the universe shows clear design, so it can't be uncreated, and their argument is that the universe is eternal and uncreated, and why can't we say the universe is undesigned? If we can say Allah is undesigned and Allah is even greater than the universe, okay, yes, that's a common objection by atheists. He says, I know I said some blasphemous things, but I'm just trying to show you the doubts that come to me. I seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from them, and I have been struggling with a lot of other atheistic doubts, which is part of the reason why I joined this course. Jazakallah khairan. He says the universe exhibits features that normally indicate contingency and design because it consists of many interacting parts and finely ordered laws. Allah, however, is not a composite object made of parts. So the inference, okay, now pay attention to this. So the inference that he himself must have been designed does not follow. Just because you think you know that he's not made of parts? Okay, that's wrong. He says, is the statement correct to say or not? Okay, he says, I know I may have made many errors by using philosophy, etc., which is why I'm asking, because I have no knowledge in this area. All I want is yaqeen from Allah, by Allah's aid. As'Allah an yarzuqana wa iyyakum al-yaqeen. Okay, so I wrote in response to him, okay, the atheist objection saying, why can we not just assume that the universe itself is eternal and uncreated, is a fallacy of definition, in addition to a few more fallacies, as you will see as we proceed. First of all, what do you mean when you say the universe to begin with? What is it? If you use it to mean all existing things outside of the mind, the compendium of all things in reality, as philosophers, especially atheists, would, then obviously you know for a fact that that group of things includes things that are not eternal. Okay? You know for a fact things around you that are not eternal. Okay, things that had a beginning. There's no refuting that. Okay? You cannot claim that the group itself is eternal in its totality, while every one of its members had a beginning, as many of them would claim, many philosophers would counter, because this would mean that you're talking about a group of things, the causes for which are regressing to infinity in the past. The complete causes. Every one of them was caused by something like it, and that one with one like it, respectively, and so on ad infinitum. Okay, to infinity past. And that's just absurd. That's absurd, brothers and sisters, because obviously this would leave us with no causation at all. Nothing would happen. Okay? If you say A could not have happened by necessity without B being its complete cause before it, and B itself could not have happened if C did not happen before it in the same sense, and so on to infinity past, then you're talking about a chain of complete causes that cannot exist at all, because it has no start. Okay? This still holds true if A and B, in this example I just, in this characterization I just gave you, if A was a single event or a group of events, and so was B and C and so on, natural or otherwise, it's the same problem. Okay, this is simply a group that cannot have existed forever. Cannot have existed forever. There needs to be an eternal being with both power and will to determine all contingent things in existence by choice, by his choice, and end the regress in the only rational way that it could end, obviously. That being itself obviously cannot be contingent either, or else the regress would still carry on. So why not claim that that thing to be part of the universe and be done with it, as philosophers would say? Well, because again you fall in the fallacy of definition. You cannot mean by universe all existing things in reality, because this is necessarily a group that includes both contingent and necessary existence, or else on pain of regress, of course. Okay, and so you can't include it all under one of the two modal judgments to talk about it as either contingent or necessary in its totality. That's just false. You can only use the term universe to properly mean the group of all contingent things in existence, in which case you have to establish the existence of an eternal necessary being by whose will, choice, and power all contingent things came to be. By necessity, that being cannot be a member of that group. Alright? Now, we don't judge that the universe is contingent because it contains many interacting parts. And pay attention here, brother. As you have seen with my previous response, I did not resort to making a metaphysical claim about the universe at large based on my observation of some of its parts. Okay? I never spoke about parts of the universe. No. That's the error that philosophers always employ against you and say, well, how could you know that? The truth is, we don't. Not from that premise, I mean. We know that the universe is contingent by necessity because we only mean by universe from the beginning everything except the one necessary being from whose will and power all contingent things come to be. We mean by universe all contingent things. Okay? He has to be a singular being, that necessary source, obviously, because it is absurd to assume otherwise. It would be an argument ad absurdum here. That's what we're saying. We're arguing ad absurdum. For there to be more than one thing of a single kind, that kind must be contingent. The maker of those things decides how many of it there should be and what common traits they share. Thus the eternal necessary being behind all causation and all contingency is singular by the very same necessity that implies his existence in the first place. You understand that? Again, the takeaway here is that we did not decide that the universe, whatever that may be, shows signs in our experience that indicate its contingency in the parts that we're familiar with of it. No. We know that by definition, everything apart from that singular necessary being is contingent. Hence, the universe, whatever that may be, is defined as all contingent things, so it's over. That does it. Alright? If you start to speak of the universe, and here's the error, if you start to speak of the universe as one singular thing and say that since you observe change and contingency in some of its parts, then it has to be a contingent thing in its totality, then you're performing a fallacy of composition. One that would immediately lead philosophers to corner you into showing and demonstrating how you know that thing, the universe, that one thing, the universe, is not such that it, as such, is eternal, regardless of what happens to some of its parts, or the parts of it that you observe. How can you reject that? How can you dismiss that? In addition, they would corner you into dismissing all meanings of change and temporal order from applying to that maker himself, because then you would have to make him a contingent thing as well, since this is the way you committed yourself to in judging that you know that something is contingent. In judging and knowing that something is contingent. That's the error of Ahlul Kalam and Islamic philosophers, brother. And this is precisely why you wrote, and let me read it again, you wrote in your question, Allah, however, is not a composite object made of parts. What do you mean by made of parts? What do you mean by made of parts? Of course, he's not made because he's necessary. Nobody made him. But you're dismissing the very notion of parts because, well, I see that one thing that I'm a part of, and I see parts of it that are contingent, that take place. Then since it is something that has parts, then in its totality it is contingent. No, we cannot say that. That's wrong. Okay, we don't need to go that way at all. That's Ibn Sina's way in discussing contingency and judging that the world is contingent and it's false, and it resulted in turning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala into something entirely abstract. It does not even exist outside of the mind. That's a major problem, a major error in his way. Okay? We don't start by characterizing the universe as one thing with parts and then judge the whole of it from judging its parts. No. Okay, that's wrong. That's we don't have that. We don't have the right, okay, mentally speaking, to make that extrapolation from the limited experience that we do, and that's exactly actually the way that we criticize the methods of philosophers in talking about the world in its totality. This method is wrong. If you follow that very same method in arguing for the existence of your creator, then you end up suffering from all these entailments that al-Mutakallimin and philosophers had to contend with. Okay? We don't have to go that way at all. It's wrong. It's a Greek tradition that we are not bound to. Okay? We don't do that. Instead, we argue that since every contingent thing must have had a necessary origin, and we know that to be true by necessity, okay, then the universe, defined as all contingent things in existence in this sense, must have had a single origin, and that ends it all cleanly and swiftly as it should. It cuts all false entailments that might come your way. You understand it? That's how Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah addressed this issue fundamentally, and it is indeed the only proper rational way to approach it. Wallahu a'la wa a'lam. This is all I wanted to record to you, and I hope it will be beneficial for you in understanding the difference between our way, the way of Ahlul Hadith, and the way of Ahlul Kalam and philosophers. Wallahu musta'an, walhamdulillahi awwalan wa akhiran, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.